The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Helena, Montana Fire Department, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 36689. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper area. Just underneath the face of the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver side. Moving just inside of that location on the passenger and driver side, we'll find the electronic siren and PA speaker. Located in the very center face of the bumper, unit identifier T1. As we move up into the bumper extension area, it's where you'll find your hose storage location for your front bumper load. Moving on to the cab face, you'll find a marker turn indicator light on the outer edge. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. The high beam is located on the inside. Above the headlights is where you'll find a forward-facing emergency warning light, and directly behind the Pierce logo is where you'll find the latch to gain access to the hood area. As we move up onto the windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield, and as we move to the outer edges, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 ID clearance lights. You'll also find at the very top section of the front of your ladder 3 emergency warning lights forward facing. Let's take a look at some close-ups of those items we just identified. First, let's start with the front bumper. This is your front bumper extension. You'll also find the front discharge is foam capable. As we move to the hood area, you'll find on the passenger side your fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. As we move over to the driver's side, you'll find the coolant fill location. You'll also find instructions for raising and lowering your cab. And then also you'll find a yellow and black push button. This is a remote for the operation. And then just beneath that, the red is the direction of travel. And then just to the right is where you'll find the power steering fluid. This is also the fill location and check area. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the entire side of the vehicle. Driver's side, we'll focus in on the cab section. First on the A-pillar with the side-facing emergency warning light. As we move toward the front axle, you'll find Alcoa wheel, Michelin tires, and a visual sync gauge for your front axle. Easily accessible with a gloved hand, these are your door entry latches. They are also keyed. And right next to it is where you'll find your grab handle for access in and out of the vehicle. As we move down to the very rear portion of the cab, you'll find an auto eject shoreline and also an air inlet. Directly above that, you'll find a lower zone emergency warning light. And as we move directly over the top section of the front axle, it's where you'll find a side-facing floodlight. To the very rear cab wall is where you'll find your water tank level indicator. Let's move to the midsection where you'll find directly over the pump panel a side-facing LED floodlight. As we move toward the rear, you'll find an LED location light for your stabilizer and then also your stabilizer camera. Just beneath that, you'll find a LED warning light on the stabilizer itself. Let's move to the body section. In the front section is where you're going to find a pull-out step location. This is where the pump panel is located. You'll also find 2 folding wheel chocks just in front of the first front axle. As we move to the rear of the axle, rear second axle, you'll find your stabilizer pad storage location. You'll also find emergency warning lights, lower zone. And then as we move up to the very back top section, we're going to find a side-facing floodlight. This is directly over the rear axle, and then also your stabilizer light and camera. Let's take a look with all compartments open. And then we'll move around to the rear of the apparatus next. Let's start at the very top section with emergency warning lights. These are side and rear facing. Just down from that location in the center is where you're going to find your traffic advisor, and in the very center is your backup camera. As we move down, we have rear facing scene lights. Let's move down to the very bottom, passenger and driver side. Starting at the top, we've got an emergency light, brake, turn, and reverse light. Let's take a quick look at the full side of the passenger side.
focus in now at the front cab area. The only difference from the opposite side of the vehicle is this side-facing camera. And then also we have at the rear section your exhaust. Let's go back to the front bumper where we talked a little bit about that front bumper load. This is the swivel discharge in the front bumper load. And then as we look to the side, you'll also find this warning placard on the passenger and driver side, entanglement hazard. Because of that line coming out, there's the possibility of entanglement. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the cab from the driver's perspective. First, starting with the door panel, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. As we move to the base of the seat pedestal, you'll find your battery voltage indicator. When plugged into Shoreline power, that becomes active. And then just a close-up of that at the base of the pedestal where you'll find the battery voltage charger. Once again, when plugged into Shoreline power, this becomes active. Let's move down to the right side of the ankle of the operator where you'll find this yellow placard indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, and then all of the fluid capacities for each component and fluid capacity type. Also, about the left foot of the operator, the electronic siren foot pedal. Up to the left knee of the operator, you're going to find your tech module, engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port, and also display port. Also, you'll find your ABS diagnostics, regen inhibit, and DPF regen switches. Let's move directly above the panel where you'll find your master battery switch, quarter turn. It is the red switch. To the opposite side of the steering column is your interaxle differential lock, red indicating it has been engaged. As we move up to the left of the dash cluster, you'll find your hazard lights, ignition, and start switch. Also a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This engages or disengages all emergency lights. Headlight switch, switch labeled panel, which allows you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. As we move to the dash cluster, you'll find your water temperature, oil pressure, transmission, and DEF level. On the opposite side, front air, rear air, fuel, and volts. In the center, tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information will display above and also below the speedometer and tachometer. As you move all the way to the right-hand side, lower section of the steering column, you'll find the OK to engage your high idle indicator and switch. Difficult to see within this image. Let's move to the operator's right where you'll find this yellow diamond, which is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Also, you'll find the Pierce command zone, display, and also function buttons. It is a touchscreen. See your owner's manual for more information. To the right, Allison transmission pad, digital readout, pump in neutral. Also some switches, engine brake on and off switch, settings for low, medium, and high, front wheel lock, diff lock, off-road traction, and tire chains. Just beneath that, you'll find the mechanical siren control and PA speaker module. As we move to the right, you'll find the aerial master, aerial gen PTO switch, platform leveling and stabilizer cameras, stabilizer scene lights, generator on and off, and a backup override. You'll find an indicator for stationary OK to pump and roll, water pump and foam system. As we move to the very far right side, mirror heat switch, and then additional warning and caution placards. In the center, you'll find your mirror control for left and right mirror. Moving forward to this location, you'll find generator operating instructions, and forward to that location, air conditioning, heat, and defrost controls. Looking overhead of the operator, you'll find the yellow placard. This is indicating the height of your vehicle, 12 feet 3 inches, length of your vehicle, 47 feet 1 inch, and a gross vehicle weight rating, 84,000 pounds. To the right, we have some additional switches: emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, opticom, and then also a blank switch. Moving further to the right, we have your rear scene, air horn, electronic siren, load manager, driver side cab scene, passenger side cab scene, driver side body scene, and passenger side body scene. Moving further to the right, we're going to find a digital readout for your pump pressure, also a water tank level indicator, and a foam tank A level indicator. Moving further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor control module. Let's look to the center area overhead where you'll find this red light indicating when flashing, do not move your apparatus. You have a compartment door open or ajar. Just forward of that location, seatbelt information. Red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted. Green, they're in the seat and belted. Let's move behind the driver's seat. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this outlet becomes active, which in turn will activate your battery charger located on the rear of the EMS compartment. Just in front of that location is the manual handle for your cab tilt. Let's go behind the driver's head area where you'll find this speaker with volume control on the face. This is for your backup camera system. General view here, looking toward the rear section of the rear cab wall, 3 forward-facing SCBA seats. As we move exterior, we'll find an additional compartment just outside the driver's side and also on the passenger side. Visual sight gauge at the front axle, once again Alcoa wheel, Michelin tires. Let's move now to the rear section of the cab. First, we'll start with the door panel. Affixed to that panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. As we move overhead, you'll find push on and off white or red lenses and also your Firecom intercom system. Let's look forward of the rear seats. Facing forward is where you'll find the 2 rear-facing EMS compartments, roll-up compartment doors, and exterior access. Adjustable shelving and LED lighting located within inside those compartments. As we move to the center area, you'll find a lift and turn latch in the center, gains you access to your daily checks for oil and transmission. General view here of the rear section of the officer side where you'll find the control module for your EQ2B, which is the mechanical siren. Once again, general view of the seats in the rear, forward facing. On that same cabinet is the EQ2B. Also right in front of that location is your Firecom module. Let's go ahead and move exterior now. We'll start at the Shoreline inlet, auto eject, 20 amp with a air inlet just underneath that. As we move inside the compartment, roll-up compartment door open. I would like to point out the top section here as a 2.5-inch crosslay, red lettering indicating foam capable. Also an entanglement hazard because of that line coming from aloft. There's a possibility of entanglement. Crosslay 1 and crosslay 2, both of those are also foam capable. As we move to the pump panel, we're going to find 2.5-inch discharges locally controlled via a ball valve and also gauges located on the pump panel. We'll also find a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move to the center, you'll find the Pierce logo, American flag, and eagle. This is your large diameter driver's side inlet. Also at the very top, we have a warning, do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. This is your foam inlet and auxiliary. As we move to the right, you'll find an additional warning placard indicating when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Also, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains down at the very bottom section, and then also an auxiliary 2.5-inch ball valve controlled female inlet. Let's take a look at some close-ups, those items we just talked about. First, driver's side 1 and also the driver's side number 3. Auxiliary foam function inlet, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Just below this area is where you'll find a fold-out step area, which will allow you to increase the size of the vertical side running board. Let's move to the pump panel area. Start at the very top section. If you've properly engaged your truck inside the cab, this light should be illuminating pump engaged. That is the only time that this light will be active. Also, just down from that, you'll find the green foam level A indicator indicating the amount of foam in the foam tank. In the gray module, you'll find your master intake gauge and also master discharge gauge. Between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Those are currently plugged and are utilized for testing purposes. You'll also find the PCM fault indicator and also audible alarm. The bezel edge of that audible alarm does rotate to brighten or dampen sound. As we move to your discharges, they are color-coded and also indicated with a red flag indicating they're foam capable. Right next to it is the Husky 12 foam system specifications and also instructions. And next to that is your fire pump primer, push to prime, air prime with instructions at least 1,000 RPMs for best practice. Pressure throttle governor just to the right, and also a water tank level indicator embedded inside the pressure throttle governor. As we move down from this location on the vertical sidewall, you'll find scene lights and then also a red air horn push button. As we move down, you'll find the tank fill recirculating line and tank to pump. You'll also find 2 electric valve control heads. These are for the passenger side, number 2 and also large diameter. This is your Husky 12 foam module. Just beneath that, you'll find a warning placard indicating only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after they have received proper training. Minimum operation maintenance schedule placard, we'll go over that in just a few moments. And then also your aerial discharge is a wheel activation and also a gauge just above that. As we move down to the very bottom, I would like to point out a danger placard. The vehicle ladder is non-insulated. And then also we have an access panel directly here in the lower section of the pump panel. At the very bottom, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's take a look inside the pan door where you'll find your foam valve. There are instructions on the door itself, horizontal for foam operation or vertical for foam fill operations. You'll also find your pump override located just inside where the protected switch is. As we move down, once again, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. You'll also find a pull-out tray that does also extend or flip out to make the size larger for standing on. This is the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left is the associated GPM. On the right, the associated RPM for those center test pressures for 150, 200, and 250. We do have a job number and also a governed speed of 2,000 RPMs. As we move just to the next compartment back in the very top section, this is going to be your electrical compartment for S1, which stands for shoreline power. And then as we move just to the right, you'll find the G1, which stands for generated power. Let's move back to the exterior now, where you'll find this danger placard indicating electrocution hazard. Once again, the equipment is not insulated. Also a crush injury hazard warning. Because of the movement of the aerial device stabilizer, there is the possibility of a crush injury, and that's why we have this placard located on the stabilizer. As we move inside the compartment, at the very top section, vertical wall is where you'll find when plugged into shoreline power or generated power, this outlet becomes active. As we move to the bottom section, you'll find a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is located on the lower right-hand side. Also, you'll find a tool board. D-handle gains us access to the rear portion of the tool board. And then also just in front of that at the hinge point below the front axle area, that's where we're going to find the ultra low sulfur DEF fill location. It is the blue cap. We have 2 SCBA bottle storage locations. As we move back up into the top section, when that tool board is open and fully extended, it will lock into position. That was the release mechanism. The DEF tank is a 4.5 US gallon tank. It is once again the blue colored cap. Let's move to the rear of the rear axle, where you'll find the fill location for your ultra low sulfur diesel. It is the silver cap. Right next to that, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location also. As we move to the next compartment, we'll find adjustable shelf, LED lighting, and a pull-out tray. The release, once again, located on the lower right-hand side of the tray. Let's move back into the very top section here, where you'll find an LED light. This is a floodlight in the area of the outrigger. And then also you'll find for your aerial stabilizer, we have a camera located in the upper portion. Also a warning placard because, once again, crush injury because of the movement of that stabilizer. Let's move to the rear ladder, where you'll find a warning placard indicating always face the vehicle while climbing on and off. You'll also find a front to rear inclinometer. Let's move around now to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, let's start at the very top section, left side, where you'll find the stabilizer ground control illumination, and then also rear scene light switch. You'll also find inside the pan door warnings on the back of the door indicating aerial stability hazard, and then also danger because of the high pressure of hydraulic lines. We do have an emergency stop push button. Also a protected switch, which is the override. And then right next to that is where you'll find a green stabilizer power, indicating that you have power to your stabilizers. And then also right next to it, you'll find a diagnostic USB interface. That's for your maintenance team. And then just below, you'll find the remote for aerial stabilizer controls for the passenger and driver front and rear stabilizers. As we move to the opposite side, you'll find this warning placard indicating never climb on the vehicle while it's in motion. Let's take a look at the ladder inventory. You have a 35-3 section and a 24-2 section, also two 16s and a 17-foot Little Giant. Let's move to the lower portion where you'll find a warning hazard indicating caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening. You'll also find the Pierce logo American flag eagle. This is your aerial inlet, and also a pressure gauge for the aerial inlet. Just beneath that, you'll find an inclinometer. This is left to right. And then as we look inside the pan door, this is going to be your aerial drain. It is an 1.5-inch ball valve. It's locally controlled at the rear of the truck inside this compartment area. You'll also find in this compartment as you reach inside the ball valve, and right next to it, you'll find the aerial relief valve. That is the set screw for that pressure. Let's move to the right where you're going to find, once again, the hose chute and then also a warning placard because of entanglement. Also to the right, a danger regarding electrocution hazard. Once again, the aerial device is not insulated. Full image here of the passenger side, all compartments open. We'll start at the very rear of the apparatus, first starting in this section where you'll access for overrides for your aerial stabilizers and then also aerial device itself. On the left, we have a aerial emergency power and stabilizer emergency power switch. All of our function levers, control information posted just below, and then also some danger and warning information placards. Let's move forward of this location where you'll find a warning placard on the aerial stabilizer and also an emergency warning light side facing. As we move forward, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting, a pull-out tray. The lower section of that tray does lock into position. Once again, the release is located on the far right-hand side of the tray. SCBA bottle storage located here, and then also additional storage above. As we move to the rear axles, once again, dual tandem axles, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheel. As we move to the center section, you'll find D-handle gains you access to the back side of the tool board. It is hinged, and you'll find a release mechanism for that tool board on the upper portion of the hinge side. It will lock into position. I would like to point out extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during a regen operation. As we move forward to this location, once again, adjustable shelving and a pull-out tray in the lower section. As we move just in the top section, you'll find Shoreline generated outlet. Once again, that becomes active when plugged into Shoreline power or the generator is operational. This is the tray pull-out release mechanism on the right. Moving to the next compartment forward, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, a lower portion tray that does pull out and once again will lock into position. Let's move up from this location to the crosslay area. Once again, warning placard indicating entanglement. This is your 2.5-inch discharge and line above that, and then also long-handled tool storage. In the lower section, we have 2.5-inch discharges, foam capable. As we move to the passenger side pump panel, we have a warning placard indicating always face the vehicle while climbing onto it. We also have a strainer located on the exterior. Also the large diameter pump inlet, which is the Pierce logo American flag for the passenger side. Right next to that, you'll find a pressure hazard warning placard indicating caps may be under pressure. Because of those two electric valves, we do have to have an override for that. We have an override and then also the 2.5-inch and the lower section an override, and then also the large diameter at the very bottom section, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Here's some close-ups of the override for the valve itself, and then also the number 2 passenger side, and then also at the very bottom section, color-coded and labeled discharges. This also has a fold-out foot space that allows you to increase the size of the running board. Let's move now into the cab section. Affixed to door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. Same configuration as we've seen from the passenger side, push on and off white or red lens lights, your intercom system, and then also the 3 forward-facing seats, and then 2 EMS compartments rear-facing. Let's move down to the front axle. Once again, Michelin tire, Alcoa wheels, and a visual sight gauge on the front axle. Let's move now into the space of the driver's area. First, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a door handle. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag, and that's what that is indicating here. Also a warning regarding your airbag and also mounting any equipment within this area. As we move to the floor, you'll find an electronic siren foot pedal. Let's move just under the passenger seat where you'll find additional storage. Lift and turn gains you access into this space. We'll also look to the center just left of the officer seat. We'll start first on the outer edge where you'll find a push button for your air horn. As we move just inside this location toward the center, you have an additional storage location, and we have some red and white lettering indicating that you have loose wires behind. That will indicate the type of wire and also the amperage. Looking overhead, you'll find your AM/FM, weather band, Bluetooth, Sirius XM CD radio. And then as we look just underneath, you'll find the Firecom wireless base station. Let's go exterior to the front section where you'll find 2 downward pointing floodlights. Also in the center, you'll find 2 bump guards located on the passenger and driver's side. You'll also find 2 downspouts. One's a drain and the other one is an aerial sprinkler. To the rear section of this location is where you'll find your attachment points. There are 2, one on the passenger and one on the driver's side aerial. Here's an additional view of the exact same lower section. On each side, you will find additional compartment access to the bottom section. Those are lift and turn latch that gains you access. 2 master stream devices, one equipped with a solid stream, the other with a fog. In the center, you have a 2.5-inch discharge fixed, and then also an additional 2.5-inch discharge, which appears to be reduced down to 1.5 inches. 3 emergency warning lights in the lower section, and at the very top section, you'll find a forward-facing adjustable floodlight. Let's take a look at the pedestal area where you'll find this cover area. There is access into this area. This is where you'll find your overrides for your aerial device. On the right is the aerial emergency power. And then also you'll find the action levers for extend, retract, right, left, or lower and raise. There's also an informational placard so you're aware which levers control. As we move just to the right, behind the access door is where you'll find your breathing air regulator. Now we'll move to the left in the image, which will be where the pedestal located on the driver's side. We do have some warning and safety information placards. Let's take a look inside the pedestal area. At the very forward section of the pedestal, this is going to be your intercom system. There is a speaker here also located with volume control and a push to talk. As we move further down, you'll find the emergency stop push button. You'll find your tracking lights, front basket AC lights, and then also as we move just to the right, you'll find a protected switch. This is the manual basket leveling disable switch. And then underneath that, we have some AC lights and then also aerial speed. And then just to the right, you'll find your emergency hydraulic power. To the right of that location is your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information right here, touchscreen and also function buttons underneath that. See the owner's manual for more information. We do have nozzle control on the left-hand side and then also ladder control on the right-hand side for extend, retract, right, left, and lower and raise. As we move to the cover section of the pedestal, you'll find additional warning and danger placard information. What I would like to point out, most important to the left, are these placards, and we'll go over those in just a moment. First, let's take a look at the warning and danger information. Once again, your aerial device is not insulated. As we move to the 100-foot steel aerial platform load chart, this is a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition, your chart for waterway dry, and chart for waterway charged. Also a monitor nozzle position reaction chart. And then if you look down at the very bottom situation, we have some asterisks here, special attention to the freezing information. Also the NFPA 1911 specifications for testing of the aerial device. This is a 3-section aerial device. First, let's take a look at the aerial in its full entirety. Inside the fly section, you'll find a 14-foot roof ladder. You'll also find we have storage location bins on the main section. There is some warning information on those bins that they have a capacity of 75 pounds. As we move toward the tip of the ladder, you'll also find a storage location for a long-handled tool. And then as we move toward the actual basket, we'll find on the passenger and driver's side rear section of the basket additional storage locations. There's also some warning and placard information regarding the life ladder system. Moving to the right and left doorway, you'll find this bracket affixed to the door. This is intended for your ladder control module to set into. You'll also find life safety attachment points for personnel, also an air outlet for breathing air, and then also an audible alarm just to the left of the control module. At the very top section, you'll find lighting control, emergency stop push button, aerial speed, and then also your aerial basket leveling. And then just to the left, you'll find all of your nozzle control. As we move toward the center, this is going to be your ladder controls. Once again, this is removable, which you can move it to the left or right bracket location. Moving just to the right and forward of this location is where you'll find your audible alarm. This does have a bezel on the outer edge to allow you to brighten or dampen sound. Your Pierce command zone screen located here, touch screen, and then also function button. Just in front of that, you're going to find your audible speaker system for your intercom system. Here are a few close-ups of the items we just talked about. Pierce command zone. As we move down, your breathing air connection and also audible alarm. Ladder controls for extend, retract, right, left, lower, and raise. The upper section showing the under basket AC lighting and front basket AC lighting, nozzle control, and emergency stop. Intercom system to the pedestal with volume control. Also 120 VAC 20 amp outlet. And then also our controls for each individual master stream device. Additional warning and safety placard information. Breathing air, and then as we move toward the side, you'll find that same placard on the pedestal area regarding your 100-foot steel aerial platform load chart for waterway and also nozzle position. As we move to the rear of the basket, additional storage. Looking from the basket toward the rear of the vehicle. And then I have a next set of images here with the aerial stabilizers fully extended. Let's go ahead and take a look in the dunnage area where you'll find the top fill location for your water tank and then also top fill location for your foam tank. Let's go ahead and take a look at each of those. We do have some warning placard information on those. What I would like to point out is the warning placard information on the foam tank for foam tank fill A. Warning regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Just to the right is the cover here for your aerial hydraulic fill location. Then as we move forward of the dunnage area, housing your generator and then also your Husky foam system hydraulic reservoir. This is the foam reservoir for your hydraulic fluid. It does have a visual sight gauge located in the front and also a shutoff. I do have an image of that in the next set of pictures for you. This is your Harrison generator. Moving now to the forward section, we'd like to point out this is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these warning placards indicating that it is a non-walking surface. Let's head back to the dunnage area here as we finish up the top view. Let's take a look at the foam system. This is that shutoff for your hydraulic reservoir, and then just to the right is the visual sight gauge for the level of hydraulic fluid in the system. At the very rear section, you'll find your breathing air bottle. A few images here with the aerial device in the upright position. And then the next several images are going to be that of the chassis underneath, and then also with the cab tilt area. The cab has currently been fully tilted. When the cab has been tilted, this bar should be put into place for safety. Do not lower the cab onto this bar. This is simply a safety device. Pressure is required on both the right and left cylinder at all times. This is your TAC 4 suspension for your front end. As we move to the rear section where the batteries are located on the driver's side, I'd like to point out a few items. First, these are your studs located for positive and negative battery. As we move around to the rear of this, you'll find a hydraulic reservoir. This is for the cab tilt. There is also your access point for manual tilt in that same vicinity. This will conclude the chassis photos. Congratulations, Helena Fire Montana, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 36689. If you have any questions regarding your new vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.